We're winging it.
All right, cool. So, our usual broadcast is interrupted. No, so Rob hasn't been able to join us yet. He may pop in. And so I had asked the other guys here if we could run through this workup I am using to kind of put together. It can be a 0 level or a first level adventure, right? It's very introductory. So we're going to do that. So they've each quickly came up with a first level character, and we're going to just kind of kick it off. And if Rob jumps in, he can either grab his first level character, or he can watch and comment, or however it goes down. So, the adventure opens up. Whatever reason you have come here is completely up to you. But you found yourself in this coastal town of Skeleton. Now, Skeleton was settled a long time ago by citizen standards, but not so long ago by world standards, by a halfling named Lady Bellwood. Lady Bellwood came to this particular chunk of land, and she settled it with the idea that she was going to have this very picturesque sort of entertainment bougie area that those well-to-dos would travel here. There's picturesque hills behind them that she imagined would be riddled with hot springs. There's the coast, and the sun sets over here in the west, and that's beautiful. And then these rolling hills. But what she found was people didn't really travel here. To the north, just on the other side of the mountains, is the frozen wastelands. And although not unexplored, they're hardly explored. But what people do know is that bands of orcs and goblins and other beasties will come down out of there. Maybe she hadn't thought through the best place for this vacation spot. But she had invested, and so she, using her halfling gumption, she stuck to it. And a little port town was born, the port town of Skeleton. And instead of it smelling of bakeries and fine wine and the bustle of well-dressed individuals rubbing elbows and mingling, it instead smells of coal and fish, and has the bustling of drunken sailors and wayward adventurers and ne'er-do-wells. But she buckled down, and she's made an extensive amount of money being the Lady of Skeleton. So if you would imagine that you have this large dock area, and it looks out into a C-shaped or almost a circular bay. And in the middle of that bay are 2 islands. And if you could fly over it and look down on it, it would look akin to a jagged toothed skull staring back up at you. And the jagged teeth come from the fact that there are lots of wrecked ships out there at the entrance to this bay. It's got some very jagged shoals right there, and the first unlucky sailors to come through didn't know where they were. They've since been very well mapped, but they also intentionally have derelict ships and stuff that they can run out there and scuttle to seal off this bay in the event that there's ever a war. The 2 islands each have small outposts on them, and those outposts range from fisherman huts with a guard tower to a full-on small fortress that would have been the lighthouse that would have welcomed everyone to this paradise were it to have gone that way. So that's your docks. The docks have their piers and jetties that run out. They constantly have ships that are docked at them. And those ships are taking on coal or offloading other supplies that they've gotten from other trading posts, because this has kind of become the last stop before the wild north. And so supplies are in demand here. The docks themselves are well kept, but swollen with water, so the wood doesn't have always that clompiness to it. Sometimes it has a clomp squishiness to it. The buildings themselves down near the docks sit either on the piers or just off of them along a dirt road. Most of them wooden buildings. If you'd imagine your typical Wild West town, that's the image that you see. There are only 2 tall buildings properly in town. Both of them are inns. One of them is called the Wretched Hive. The other one is called the Glass Fish. The Glass Fish is 3 stories tall. It's mostly made out of stone, which sets it apart from everything else, and was originally a temple. However, after some careful thought of piety and prosperity and money, they realized that they'd make more money if it were not a temple and were a place where you could have, well, let's just call them friendly workers. And so it was changed. Now, if you look out past it towards the sort of entrance that rides over the low rising hills that are back to your east, not like the large hills to your north, there's another squat stone building that was made with local rocks. So it's not alabaster or attractive. It's kelpie and brown. But it's a temple. And Old Man Johns is glad to see you whenever you come by. Old Man Johns is a curious figure you found in your time here. He's reminiscent of Benny from The Mummy, if you remember him. He had all those holy symbols on him and was very rapid to go through them. Old Man Johns is the same way. It's not that he doesn't believe in the gods. He very much does. It's just that he believes in all of them. And so if he's going to put salt on his food, he's praying to the goddess of salt. And if he's going out in a boat, he's praying to the god of the sea. And that's just how he is. Beyond these buildings, which contain things like assayers' offices and the Stonehelm Mining Company, which handles most of the mining of the coal out of the foothills here, you find a couple of competing merchant shops, a couple of food stalls. Beyond those, you have the more upscale merchants, the ones that not upscale, but the ones that sell the higher priced items. Your livery is there. Your clothier is there, because when Lady Bellwood came, she had brought some of these people with her, and some of them, being family, they stayed with her. Beyond that are the few homes that make up the residences here. Most of the homes are these large, what would have been almost small palatial estates for the well-to-dos that would have come here, and instead of sort of been turned into the fantasy equivalent of apartment buildings. And beyond that, in sort of the fourth ring coming out, is a manicured lawn with topiaries of strange creatures that aren't native to here, so elephants and flamingos, and they're still very well manicured. And on top of a small hill to the north is this spiraling castle, as she calls it. It's a small keep, and that is the estate of Lady Bellwood, who is often seen around town, but she's become this hardened woman of business and less the entertaining debutante type. So that gives you a feel for where we are, and however you got here is how you got here. But the one thing you have realized is that since being here, credit is not often extended.
You got it?
And so you're kind of at that point where you have to make a decision. It's either time to take a job or it's time to call it quits. The adventuring life wasn't for you. Time to pack up and go home. So as you've meandered around town, you have noticed that the 2 best places to get information are the Glass Fish, but that information is very unreliable because it often only comes from the loose lips of sailors that would be sinking ships, but they're too drunk to be on one. And there is a posting board down at the docks, because the ships often, when they unload their cargo, will also divest themselves of some of their crew as they go and seek other opportunities. And so over the last couple of days, there have been articles posting for guards for a return shipment of rice that was found to be rancid. And that sounds extremely exciting, guarding rancid rice on a nearly 2-month voyage in the open water. In fact, it sounds pretty terrible. And there are there are menial tasks. There's an opening for a scullery, a dish boy at the Glass Fish. But recently, today, whatever time it was, maybe you came down and you checked the board. There is a handwritten note that has been tacked up there, and it's on the Stonehelm Mining Company's paper. And it reads that there's been a cave-in and that they need help recovering individuals from the cave-in. So at this point, we'll start a scene where you're either at the docks or near enough to hear this. There is a disheveled, long, stringy-haired halfling, and she has climbed on top of a shipping crate. And she has that very Monty Python sort of long, wrinkly, and jagged, uneven finger, and she is waggling it at people. And she keeps gesturing back towards the Stonehelm Mining Company and to the hills beyond. And the words that catch your ears are things like ghosts and monsters. And we've upset them. This mining should never have been done. And it has, and they've claimed the lives of those miners. It's time to flee. It's time to go home. Skeleton is done, is what she's screaming. And there are sailors down in front sailors being the shifty and superstitious lot they are, begin, oh, wow, ghosts. Oh, well, no, we can't come back in here. I hear ghosts is contagious. And so this has started to grow and to ferment. And business has ground to a halt in front of the boxes that this halfling is standing on. Now, below her are two dwarves. Are either the three of you a dwarf?
No.
Perfect. So dwarves look like dwarves for the most part, and these more so than any others, as they are actually a set of twin dwarves. And they're standing down there, and every time that she disclaims that we should give up and go, or that it's caved in and they're all dead and there's no hope, these two are down there and they have almost like little pamphlets that they're handing out, and they're asking, oh no, please come and help us. And they have this sheer desperation in their eyes, and that is the scene that you see, however it is that you come upon it. And we'll go ahead and start with Alex here.
Okay. I've literally just stepped off a boat. I'm wearing a white sort of comfortable linen shirt with a leather vest with a white star, an 8-pointed star on the front of it. I have a sword at my side that is, if they gave out swords to a town guard, like from a place called Swords Are Us, that would be it. It's bare bones. It's basically a kind of a training sword almost.
It actually has a tag hanging from it that says this is a sword.
Kind of, yeah. No, it's just, has the simplest of cross pieces. The pommel is just a small circle of iron. It's the most basic of swords, functional, but absolutely no frills. There's a duffel bag over his shoulder. His long sort of light hair is blowing in the breeze, and he has the biggest, brightest smile on his face you've ever seen as he steps off the boat, smells the air. His pale blue eyes, are glinting in the sunlight as he kind of sort of looks around, and he hears this sort of pleas for help, and immediately, with purpose in his step, walks up to them. He says, "You have need of help immediately. I see that. I would be more than happy to render what assistance I can."
So one of the dwarves, he turns to you, and you are human.
Ismar.
Okay, so he looks up at you and
You might think I'm human though, but
he there's something about you that you can see that he sees, and he's almost momentarily not awestruck, but something. And he hands you this this pamphlet, this sheaf of paper, and he says, "We do need help. Caven, at least 5 of the boys down there, and we think Mr. Stonehelm's son's down there too." And then this lot won't help us. He kind of bellows and looks towards some of the individuals who are still talking about how contagious ghosts are and now packing up their stuff and leaving. And he shoots a very evil look over at the halfling woman, who kind of hisses and points at him and continues on her tirade. But no offense, sir, but by yourself, I don't think you'll be enough. Stay close. We're trying to get a few more.
I say all we can do is what we can, but you mustn't be too harsh on these people. It's not everyone has the fortitude to do what must be done.
He nods and not to be curt or anything, he turns and goes back to, there's this big burly man, maybe more paunchy than burly and twice as hairy, that's walking by, and he tries to solicit him for help, and he's met with a very large meaty palm in the face as he kind of gets pushed back, and the big guy's like, I won't be catching any ghosts. And he immediately kind of beelines to that board with the jobs on it. Garden rancid rice sounds good to me. And he snatches down that thing, and then you can see he now walks up the wharf or whatever that proper term would be, looking for where this ship would be. And they go on still trying to solicit help. DBJ.
All right. Excuse me. I have previously gotten off of a ship that had come in. My face is wrapped. My half-elven ears are poking above the scarf that's around my face. My arms and fingers and hands are also wrapped in bandages and such, looking like I'm covering maybe sores or something like that. Maybe some kind of a facial deformity of some sort. And I've come to this place to try to find some kind of peace or what have you. I left a wizard school and came away feeling like I suffered more than I learned, and so I decided to leave and find a cure for my ailment. But I look around and I can see, I see the commotion, but I didn't really, I don't feel like I want to get involved in it. But I see this individual who has left our group. Okay, who just his presence kind of entices me to get involved. And then so you know how you can sit in a crowd and your brain can focus on different sounds in that crowd. So I start to listen in on the the dwarves and people getting the job. So I grab my staff. Despite being half elven, I'm a little bent shouldered. And I make my way to the board with the jobs on it.
Okay, and so you see the same thing. You do see this. You see this list, guards needed for shipment. Right, but that paper's been gone. That meaty fist flew in front of your face. grabbed it, and maybe you're the one he turns to, and he's like, garden raised rice doesn't sound so bad to me, and he then beelines that direction. And so the only other two that sort of catch your eye is this piece that hasn't been tacked up as high as the rest of it, because dwarves can only reach so tall, and it's kind of fluttering in the breeze. And I mean, if you want to wash some dishes, there's that option. But you do, as you hear this commotion behind you, and you hear the no, we've woken the ghosts. We're all doomed, doomed, doomed. Everyone flee the town. You hear that, but then this more emphatic voice comes out, and you hear, "Would you help us? We could pay you even. 5, maybe 6 miners are trapped." And your eyes kind of drawn to that paper that 5 miners. That you can see that.
5, and I like absently finger the paper, like one hand on my staff, that I'm physically leaning against, and the other hand is like fingering the paper, like miners trapped. And I look around to the dwarves that are asking for help.
Okay, so you see them standing. At this point, they've kind of shifted a little bit because they're combating for volume against this halfling at this point. So they've shifted a bit, but standing to the side of them is that individual that caught your attention earlier. And basically, every time someone takes a piece of paper from them, like this sort of like soliciting of a job, that paper's either crumpled and thrown back in their face or used as tissue paper. Like no one's having any of this, but this halfling, and she looks horrible, right? Stringy hair, greasy, dirty, clothes that are ill-fitting. She has the crowd at the moment.
Okay. Wow. I walk closer. I know she's rambling and people are ignoring her, but kind of drawn to her, and I walk closer and stand and listen to what her rantings are, or try to decipher. Is this the rantings of a mad person? But is she misdescribing something that really exists? Someone say it's a big foul beast, but it could be an elephant, kind of thing.
Right. All right. So I'll give you a rundown of what she's saying. Dad, how's your person entering this scene?
Yep.
What you see is a mountain on 2 legs. He's about 6'8". He's got a big round head. He's got broad shoulders, broad chest, broad waist, broad hips, thick thighs. And the immediate appearance is rust. He's got rusty red hair that's sticking out of a rusty red pot helmet. He's got a rusty red beard. He's wearing chainmail that's got rust on it. Slung at his side is a rather large hammer. The only thing on him that appears neat and pristine is a wooden shield. And it is master carpenter's work. He's standing at the board, and if you watch closely, you see his lips move as he is trying to read what's on the paper.
Do I see any of this? I assume I'm still kind of standing there as they're soliciting.
Yeah. So I think at this point, if you're looking out, right, Alex, I think that you see that this obvious non-sailor has approached the halfling woman who's on this, the doomsayer, right?
Right.
And I think it's hard to miss old Rusty the Mountain over there,
right?
Because how big it. So like maybe they stand out the most.
Well, I was gonna say after what the dwarves told me, I look at him and I kind of do this nod to myself, and I hop down off where I'm sitting, and I kind of stride over to him, and I kind of give him a Excuse me, sir.
Yeah. Hello?
Over here that we could use your help with. A man of your stature and strength. Clearly.
Oh, okay. What are we doing?
There's some people trapped and they need our help. And time.
Okay. We got to go lift something. I'm good at lifting. I break something. I can break things. Do we get paid?
I think Alex is having some interweb issues, but he would tell you that he's heard mention of pay.
Oh. Okay, I'm hungry. Pay sounds good.
So, as the two of you move, not even through the crowd, right? The crowd just kind of moves around you, as they're like not trying to get stepped on by Ross Monster, man. DBJ, this halfling, she's up there, and at this point, she is taken to using things like prestidigitation and minor illusion to sort of emphasize what she's talking about. And she goes into this spiel where she's like, "You don't understand. In these hills, thousands of years ago, an ancient culture of demon worshippers lived here. They locked those secrets and their dead deep down in the coal. And we've disturbed them. Not we, you." And she kind of like real hard points at the two dwarves. "And they've claimed your men and your master's son for it. Yes, and they'll claim all of you unless you leave." While she sounds fanatical, she doesn't sound crazy. Right?
Okay.
You can tell she's composed behind that persona. And so she goes on and she basically gives like a small history of the area. You know, that lady that came here and settled thought that she was going to have this great vacation spot and doesn't, because that's part of the curse, right? That the times that the mines have dried up, it wasn't bad luck, it was the curse. You know, miners who have died in the past. And when she says that, one of the dwarves there, he there's been one in over 100 years. That's more than none. And she does have this ability to woo the crowd to this story that she's telling. But even though you're kind of enthralled with her at the moment, you do out of the corner of your eye now see this mountain of rusty brown metal kind of move up to about even with you. And the individual who had caught your eye earlier is with him.
Okay. Oh, I'm rather short and stoop-shouldered, so this mountain of a man just kind of like overshadows me, and I look up at him, and I look over at the other individual that caught my eye. I'm not particularly sure why. With the Econo brand sword. And
Swords are us.
I absolutely make sure my scarf is covering my face, and I gentlemen, hi. I was just listening to this lady's history of her experiences. Very interesting, I must say. And
One of the dwarves chimes in. Pig slop, all of it.
One person's pig slop is another person's tasty cakes. I don't know.
Those are wise words, my friend. But the point that this dwarf here is trying to make. I'm sorry. What is your name?
Yaz.
No, I was talking to the dwarf, but
so one of them sticks out his hands. I'm Jenner Crossrock, and the other one crosses his arm, maybe reaching for the mountain over there, and he says, "I'm Petrus Crossrock."
Yeah. Well, what young Jenner is trying to tell us here is that there are people trapped that need our help now, regardless of these clearly interesting stories. But there are people that are in desperate need of us now, and we're looking for more. We have this fine man here, and I kind of, with the sort of my fist, I sort of just like give him a good whack on the chest, lightly, just, with kind of a camaraderie, and perhaps you, if you're willing to do what many of these people aren't, which is to step up and help someone in need that you don't know. You have no hope of reward, and yet it is the right thing to do.
And we get paid.
I would be willing to help. My fate is sealed. My vanity was my prison. So yes, I
smile.
Scale
excellent
way.
I smile. I give him this smile, and just then the wind sort of catches my hair, and for an instant I look like the cover of a romance novel. And I turn to the dwarf. We have our 3. We're ready to go.
So about that time, you see the one who introduced himself as Jenner. He's trying to hand this one of these pieces of paper to this another burly looking sailor, and this guy cuffs him, like backhands him on the side of the head, and it's enough to send Jenner like ass over tea kettle.
If I'm there, is there a chance I could like reach out to stop that?
No, because it's really that sort of like that sappy like hand on ear sound. Like it that sounds different than any other body part being hit. It's really that sort of catches your attention, and Jenner he falls backwards into the point that he's sitting in a bucket of fish bits that were being used as bait, and you hear that sort of as he goes into it, and he looks at his brother. Yeah, 3 will be enough for today.
I rush over and I help him up.
While he's doing that, I grab the guy that slapped him by an arm. Not nice. Don't hit little people. And I palm him in the face and push him backwards off the dock.
So he does this thing where he kind of like reaches, and he finally catches those they're like 3 inches around wooden poles that are on the edge of a dock, and it's normally for smaller boats coming in so they can hook and tie to.
Yeah.
And you just hear as it just snaps under his weight going backwards. And you get that Wilhelm scream, and then followed by a sploosh.
Almost as this is happening in the background, like if the camera were looking from the other, about people like that, they always end up getting this in the end.
Not nice.
So he stands up and he like wrings the muck out of his pants. Looking at him now, you can see that he has his pants are kind of like double or tripled over linen, right? They're very thick pants. And in the knees, he has these leather pads that are sewn in exterior that are on riveted hinges around his knees. Same thing for his shirt. It's this really thick linen. He's got leather cuffs that close his shirt, and then leather reinforcements on his elbows and his shoulders. And the ones on his shoulders are rubbed, kind of worn, where maybe backpack straps would go. But he unmuckifies himself as best as possible. Well, it's this way. And he
All right. As we're sort of walking, I say, do you have any? Are there any maps that we could refer to? Is this a complex tunnel system that we should know about?
No, the stones, the mines are easy to understand. You don't have to worry about them. But you
All right.
realize that he's saying that with a very dwarven confidence.
Yeah.
Maybe doesn't translate to any other race.
Yeah. I say, well, I'm sure it's nothing to you. I as you can see, none of us are experts in your profession, which we yield to your expertise, of course. But if you would have any sort of reference for us, that would be a help. Also, if there's any sort of equipment that we will need.
He nods, and he kind of quickens his step. His brother Petrus goes, "Don't worry about it, Mr. Stonehelm. He'll take care of what you need."
Good.
And we get paid.
He did mention something about pay. Here, you can ask him. And as he says that, you climb up what is maybe 15, 16 steps. And you're on a little bit of a raised wooden platform. And you see a sign that says, Stonehelm Mining Company above this door. Jenner walks up and he flings it open, and you have that very sort of ding ding of a bell being hit. And when you step inside, there is all the sounds of a business going on. So you walk down this hallway, and on both sides of you, every 10 feet or so, is a doorway that goes into an office. And inside that office is a desk. And behind that desk is generally a dwarf. And on that desk are sheets of papers. Some of them, with a quick glance, look like their orders. Some of them look like they might be an inventory, and some of the other rooms have other individuals. But eventually, this goes. You travel back, and it opens up to a very large room. And in the center of this very large room is a very large desk. And not behind the very large desk, but off to the side is a very large dwarf. He stands almost 5'1" tall. He has hair that is so black and a beard that is so black that you find yourself questioning whether or not it's natural, or that he's worked in this mine for so long that he can no longer get the coal dust out of his hair. And he has a meaty hand that's up on a board. And on this board, which is 4 foot by 8 foot, is a map of the mine. And he's kind of finger pounding this one section, and he's speaking in Dwarvish, if any of you understand it, to a human man and a gnome. You're assuming male because it has a beard, but gnomes are funny like that. Yeah. And he sees you walk in. He sees Jenner and Petrus with you, and so he doesn't really pay you any mind. Until one of them walks over and, conversing in Dwarvish, says something, and he steps back from the board, and he's very big, like muscle, and he crosses his hands in front of him. And Jenna here tells me that you're willing to do some work for us.
Yes, indeed, we're here to help. My name is Belfast. These are my companions, and I gesture to Rusty.
Tugwell, but my friends call me Tug.
Yeah, he tugs well.
This is Tug, and I gesture to the.
I look down at the ground, but I kind of wave my hand to say hello. And the name's Yaz. Name's Yaz. And I pull the scarf up.
Okay. Well, assuming you're the speaker for the party, this large dwarf steps forward. He thrusts out this hand, and It's a worker's hand, right? Like you can see the calluses incoming as they grip you, and he shakes your hand, not in a show of strength or anything, but you can tell that there is years of hard work behind this man's grip. I'm Gunther Stonehelm. This is my company.
Well, Mr. Stonehelm, we're I assume that time is of the essence, so tell us what we can do.
So he walks back over to the board, and he points, and let's see if I can get this up real quick. Files.
By the way, while he's doing that, to the guy who brought us here, didn't write his name down.
Petrus was one of them, and
it was
Jenner. Yeah, Jenner and Petrus.
Jenner. So I turned to Jenner and I say, while we're speaking to Gunther, is it possible for us to get some torches, lantern, something of that nature? We want to make sure we're prepared for whatever conditions we might encounter.
So, Mr. Stonehelm looks over. I'll take care of that. Don't worry.
Oh, good.
And he points at this section of the mine, right?
Yep.
So at the beginning, at the southern sort of upside down Y, you see lettering, and the lettering refers to this particular mine shaft as the Coal Deep, and it has the two openings. One is called Sally's Way, and the other one is called Merle's Way. So he goes on to explain to you that the mining company here mines along naturally occurring cave systems that honeycomb these foothills and into the mountains, they believe. They've had no mining accidents in the last 100 years since the one guy's death. And he walks over to a board that he has sitting in the corner of his office. It is oak, maybe, but it is 5 inches wide, 4 inches deep, and when he lifts it, he strains. He sets it down on his desk. And these are what we use to shore up the mines. I'm telling you, it wasn't a natural cave-in.
I see.
I know the folks in town are talking that there's monsters that live in there and that they sabotaged us, but I don't buy it. I've worked these mines for 60 years now, and not once have I come across a monster. Now, granted, it's a new mine, and we haven't had it open too long. And as he does, he gestures back up to the board to draw your attention, and you can see those those 3 offshoots in the sort of right-hand corner of the map there. And they don't have names, right? It's Tunnel A, Tunnel B, and Tunnel C. He goes on to explain that until they have finished out the tunnel and are sure it's worth something, they don't bother naming it. So this early on, it's just Tunnel A, B, and C. So Tunnel A, can you guys see the red on the map there?
Yeah.
All right, so at Tunnel A and Tunnel B, if we're counting from top to bottom, were collapsed right at the beginning, right where they junted off of this. Tunnel C collapsed about 150 yards further down. Tunnel C is where they think the people are. And you can hear him, he kind of quakes a moment when he talks about the miners that are down there. And I think Alby's down there as well. Alby's my son. He's still a lad. And he kind of looks at you guys, and sums you up fast, thinking that 2 of you are human and one of you is elf-ish. He'd only be 6 or 7 in your kind's years, or by your reckoning.
I look down and I give him a reassuring smile. I say, "Don't worry, we're going to get him, bring him back alive."
So, I'd ask that you go down there. I'd like it if all of the men could come back, but at least bring Albie back. I can offer you each 50 gold pieces for your time, whether you find anything or not. And another 120 for you to split how you see fit when you get back.
Yes, well, we can discuss that once everyone is safe and sound.
I'd offer you more, you understand. Stonehelm's a mighty company. Don't get me wrong. But when there's cave-ins and talks of ghosts, customers aren't exactly beating down your door.
Believe me, our price is more than fair. But we can discuss that afterwards. Let's get these people safe first.
So he smiles, or you assume he smiles, because it goes behind this massive beard, and kind of the beard bounces when he talks, and kind of moves up a little bit when he smiles.
Yeah.
But you'll be wanting a copy of the map. And he looks over at the gnome. This is Fizzle Skimwalket. He's one of my... What are we calling you now, Fizzle? I'm an engineer. I'm sure you are. And you get him a copy of the map. And Fizzle turns, and he has kind of like a clipboard with some paper and charcoal, and he begins drawing the the map. And then you notice in the bottom corner of this large map, there's a signature that says Fizzle. Like, apparently, this is this guy's job.
Yep.
So
while they're sort of preoccupied with that, I sort of have my arms folded. I'm staring at the map, and I kind of lean over to Tug, and I say, "What are your thoughts on all this?"
Tug has been listening in, but he's more fascinated with that chunk of wood that the guy dropped on the desk. And he's picked it up, looked at it, smelled it, tasted it, looked at it. Wouldn't break. Wouldn't break.
My thoughts as well.
No, so Tug, when you lift it, this is a 4-foot section that's got the other dimensions I gave you.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably pushing 400 pounds.
I didn't say he lifted it easily.
No, you can lift it. It's fine. It's just when you get it up, like it's even for your lack of mental. You realize that it's an unusual wood. Like, it's deceptively heavy.
Right. Just as an FYI, Tug is a trained carpenter.
Okay, yeah. So this is imported black iron wood. Like, it's this is one of the densest woods you can possibly get. Which also, like, maybe raises a question, because being a trained carpenter, maybe you've helped make framing beams before. A coal mine that uses wood that would cost you like 30 and 40 gold pieces a foot. But so a matter of moments pass, and Fizzle Skimwalket, he hands probably you, DBJ, because you're the least jock person there. He hands you the map. Give it a few moments, and the charcoal will be fine. It won't move.
Thank you. These are, and I look around the place at some of the like the maps and not maps, but I'm picturing it like blueprints, the equivalent of surveyors maps and things.
Yeah. So on his map, he actually has the declination, right? So like it's showing you how far underground you're going.
Wow. I'm quite amazed at your work. Freehand, because I just saw him create this map. Like, it's amazing, sir. It's great work.
I appreciate that. Not all magic is done by waving and hooting and hollering. Math has a magic of its own. And you get the feeling that he might actually mean that this guy might be able to write you an equation that casts fireball.
Which is a true thing, really.
So a moment later, Petrus and Jenner, they come walking back in, and they've got like a few odds and ends. Like you can see some rope, you can see like a torch, and Gunther Stonehelm. That won't be necessary. Just take him to the equipment room. And they kind of like collectively shrug at the exact same time, and then turn and wave over their shoulders with hands that aren't full of stuff, or maybe a torch waves in the air, unlit, of course. And they take you down. They take you down another hallway, and at the end of the hallway, you can see that it stops being wood and starts turning into stone, right? like worked but natural stone. And illuminated by an ever-burning torch is a sign that says MN dot NO dot the number 1.
Mm-hmm.
And when they see Tug staring at it, and he's like, even Tug's like, there's not enough letters in that. No. Like Petrus walks up and he kind of like taps you on the hip. It's okay. It means mine number 1. That was the first. That's what set us up.
Okay.
But he turns and he walks into a room. It's like a 10 by 15 room, and on the wall are bags, climbing gear, rope, picks, pittons, climbing spikes, regular sledges, baby sledges, massive sledges. Like, I mean, if you can think of mining equipment outside of like modern mining equipment, it's there. So Jenner pulls a wooden rod that kind of actually looks a bit like a cartoon bone, right? It's got that knob at the end of it. He pulls one of those down, and he says a word that if you speak Draconic, you understand.
Ooh, I think I do actually.
And he says light in Draconic, and it lights up.
Yes, I do.
What it is kind of like a watered down version of an ever-burning torch. So instead of casting light out to 60, it only casts light out to 20. It's got kind of a bluish hue to it. And he explains that in the mines, they use these because they've ran into pockets of explosive gas before. And he relates the story of the one death they've had where the guy was almost shot out of a mine like a bullet because he lit a torch and it just...
Yeah.
So since then, they have been paying a gnome. They've been paying a gnome, a relative actually of Skimwalkets, to craft these. And it's not that they're trying to like chintz on price or anything like that. It's just that one individual trying to crank out this many items, they had to scale back how effective they were, right? But in here, you do also find bullseye lanterns and hooded lanterns and oil and regular torches, and they don't prevent you from taking them if you want to, but they do tell you a story of a dwarf being shot out of a mine like a bullet.
No, these magical torches will do absolutely fine. Meanwhile, I'm sort of picking up like a good a coil of rope and throw it over my shoulder. A handful of pitons I kind of shove in my pocket. Look around. I grab
that they more than welcome. Here, take this.
Yeah, I grab a small hammer, throw that in there, and I just start loading in a bunch of stuff into a pack. And I toss a pack over to Yaz to say, we might want to grab a few more coils of rope. We have no idea what we're going to encounter here. I say, Tug, do you think you can manage that hammer, that largish tool over there, the pickaxe? We may have to clear some stone.
Walk over, pick it up, take a couple of. I don't know how narrow the room is, but take a couple of short swings.
Oh, you can swing pretty well. Like I say, it's 10 foot by 15 and almost 15 feet to the ceiling. So
okay.
Kink. Nuts. So as you guys are gearing up, Jenner and Petrus they're giving you names of the 5 miners that are down there. They can be whatever you want. The only one that really matters is Aldi. But they give you the rundown. And they kind of tell you at the cave-in point for Tunnel C, at that point, you are 380, 400 feet underground.
Okay.
And to give you an idea where this, because there's other maps of other mines, right? Successful ones that are up on that wall. To give you an idea, this mine starts kind of northwest of town, goes out and then cuts back east. So it's almost like the mine and cave-in sit north of the docks. Northeast of the docks.
Right.
But they let you gather whatever gear it is that you need. Eventually, Gunther comes in, and he has another very large dwarf, not as big as he is. This one's probably only 4'10", but still massive.
Yeah.
And he introduces him as Sturm. He says, "This is Alby's uncle. I've asked him to go with you as far as the rubble, help you clear it, but he's superstitious and won't go any further, like most of the lads."
No shame in that, but your help will be welcome.
So he nods and he shakes each of your hands and he smiles this like unsettling gaping smile. It's not like a toothy smile, it's like a whole mouth smile. And you realize that he has no tongue.
Okie dokie.
And so when he does it, Gunther kind of like bops him on the back of the head, and not everyone wants to see that.
Not to worry. But we should go.
Yep. And so Sturm, Petrus, and Jenner all leave with you, right? And they take you out the backside of the building, which comes out onto a very British sort of cliff, right? So there's rocks there's grass and moss, but there's way more rock and pebble.
Yeah.
And this is a beach. And they walk you up through the winding foothills. You travel maybe what feels like 1,000 feet or so through this before they take you up to an outpost. And sitting outside of it are 2 guards, and above it is the banner of Stonehelm Mining Company. And Petrus walks up to him, and in Dwarvish again, there's an exchange. And you get the feeling that the word crazy is being used a lot as they keep looking back at you guys and then the mine. So to put it in perspective, like there's a couple of town guards who walk around with like clubs, right? Like they're really there to break up bar fights.
Yeah.
These guys are like they're armored like Tug, right? They've got chainmail on, they've got swords, they've got and it seems a bit ostentatious for a mine. But they also, as they're talking, keep looking back at the entrance to this mine, like they're expecting any moment, like, you know, some three-headed dog's gonna come rushing out. But eventually they unlock this gate. It's very makeshift, and as you walk through, you can tell that this sort of palisade outpost is also makeshift, right? Like, there's normally a gate that sits on the mine, and you can see it ahead of you. It's open, but this out gate was created recently. And as you enter, as you walk up, you get crushed stone and seashells, and in places they have been crushed and so much with the rain and that they've turned almost into a primitive concrete, and there are ruts from wagons that are in it. And so Sturm sets a small wagon into one of the ruts, and you can see he sort of shrugs off his bag into this wagon and then gestures at the wagon for you to do the same.
Yeah, I follow suit. Although now, just so I have the visualized properly, are we going in at like almost sea level, or are we up higher?
You at this point are 200-ish, 300-ish feet above sea level.
But we're going to be going down 300. So,
right.
I turn to Sturm. I say, "Oh," and then I think again, and I turn to Jenner. Are we? Because he can't talk to me. Yeah, right. Well, I talk to him anyway because it'd be impolite not to. I say, Sturm, I noticed that we're rather close to sea level. Is flooding a problem? Do you know?
So he nods his head no, and he reaches down and he grabs this the seashell mesh that's on the ground, and he kind of rubs it on his hand, and then spits on his hand, and you can see the spit just kind of.
I watch it. And I give him a nod. Say, all right, fair enough.
And Jenner, to kind of emphasize it, most of the walls down there are coated in this. You're going to see moisture. You're going to hear water drips, but there's nothing to be worried about unless you somehow manage to tunnel yourselves back nearly 1,000 feet this direction.
Well, I don't think we'll be doing that.
If you do, let me know how you did it, because we would be glad to employ you.
1 hour later, getting covered in water.
It's so much more ocean than I was expecting.
Didn't know it was so wet.
Tug, I said, dig the other way.
So as you get to the mine, in the outside of it, are just burning regular torches, right?
Okay.
Stephen, are all these Stonehelm employees dwarves?
No, the ones that are with you right now, yes. Not all of them, no. You saw representation of everything except for a full-on elf and halflings. But you smelled something very tasty coming out of the kitchen, so maybe they do in fact employ halflings. Because halfling smells delicious when it's being roasted. I mean, what? So the exterior of the mine is dotted with regular torches, and as you guys enter, and it is this sort of hesitary enter, right? This hesitant entry. Because even Sturm has to almost like work up the courage just to step into here. There are brighter versions of the torches that you guys are using that look like they are permanently affixed to the walls. And it's quiet. You realize now that you have become accustomed, but you don't hear the crashing of the water on the cliff sides, right? You don't hear the bustle of the town. You don't hear the constant clinking of bottles that contain ale and other alcoholic beverages from the taverns. And as he travels with you guys and you travel in, sorry, just one moment, my wife.
Scratches. Itch I cannot scratch. Oh, there it goes. Ooh.
Scratch it or just can't scratch it in public.
Oh man, it's right in the center of my back.
Oh yeah.
That's like
Back scratches, man. That's where it's at.
Yep.
I don't know. Wives with long nails work real well too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh man. I got a ruler.
That'll do it.
Yep.
You know, I've only used the back scratcher like within the past like a couple of years or something like that. Someone bought one for me or something like that, and it was just like, what have I been missing all these years? This is wonderful.
So as you guys you travel in, the distance from the entrance to where it hooks that major right is probably 800, 900 feet.
Okay.
And you have started dropping. You can feel the descent happening as you go in. The little cave off to the right, you can see that they kind of turn into like a makeshift lunchroom. Like there's tables in there, but no one's been in there recently. Not since this stuff's happened. And as you get around the big bend there, the torches on the walls have now shifted over to being the cheap stuff and movable, right? It's almost like they would move them down with them and then come back later and put in permanent ones. Right. And you can see that there is starting to be a slickness to the walls, right? There is a bit of moisture to the walls. And for those of you who aren't used to being underground, which is probably all of you, when you sort of look around, you get the weight of the world all of a sudden is apparent, right? Like you realize that you are hundreds of feet underground and that's just to the surface. And then you're under a hill or a small mountain as well. And you can kind of momentarily feel that. But Sturm walks up to kind of the juncture there of the two collapsed passages. He sets the cart down. He smiles. He grabs his stuff and he beats feet the other direction.
Okay.
And Jenner and Petrus, they have been getting progressively more nervous as they come this way. They talk a good game about not believing in ghosts and whatnot, but there hasn't been an accident in 100 years. And so they kind of look at you and go, well, you don't need to worry about these two passages here. No one was in them when they were collapsed, or when they collapsed. Just tunnel C here. And you fellas look like you have it under control. Any other questions for us before we go tend to our other duties?
Well, yes, I thought Stern was supposed to help clear the passage. I suppose that's not going to happen now.
They kind of look at the dwarf as he's like moving at non-dwarvish speeds. Guess not.
Well, what about you, young dwarf? You seem sturdy enough.
We can
help. How about giving us a hand at least clearing the tunnel?
Yeah, it's the least we can do. And so Jenner and Petrus go about starting to move rock. And if any of you help, they direct you in a manner that's not going to cause further calamity.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that definitely help. I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna keep an eye on Tug though, just to make sure that he understands their instructions, and I will sort of gently adjust him if necessary.
So as you guys are clearing it and you're looking at these the tunnels here,
Mhm.
the tunnel that you're standing in is 12-ish feet wide. You can almost get 3 of you side by side. And it's been worked, but is still very obviously a natural tunnel run, right?
Mm.
With some work and some moving and some put this board here, put this rock there, you guys are able to create a 5 foot by 5 foot hole through the rubble. It takes a couple hours to accomplish that.
Can Tug fit through it?
I mean, if he squeezes.
Tug the duck walker.
Yeah, it might actually be Tug the on his hands and knees crawling through walker.
Jenner, can you go back and get some bear lard? We may need it.
But once it's dug and the hole's created, they sit down on some rocks and they pull out little flasks of dwarven spirits, and they each take a sip and then pass it around to you if you want it.
Yeah.
And then he does the thing where he pours out 5 little sips on the ground. And he says, if and you can't, it's yours, but if and you can, you'll be paying me back. Which you take to mean that if they're dead, here's some free booze, but if not, they're gonna buy it back for him.
I like that.
Yeah.
And they take their leave of you.
All right.
And so for the first time, the 3 of you find yourselves in this tunnel underground, surrounded by tons and tons of rock and dirt that has recently collapsed and possibly killed 5 experienced miners and a miner because he's not 18. And on the other side of this wall of rubble that you've carved a hole into is inky blackness.
Right. I'm as we're sort of sitting, watching them kind of go down the trail. I sort of think about it, and of course, I'm aware this is probably just superstition, but I kind of go over to the opening and I kind of hunker down a bit, and I kind of just put my hand out in front of me, and I'm going to use divine sense to sort of reach out to see if I feel anything, anything ahead. This covers celestial fiend or undead.
What's the distance on it?
60 feet.
No, you don't get any immediate feedback of that.
All right.
So this is part 2 of the map that Fizzle made for you. The black represents portions of the mine where they have widened it and reinforced it. The blue is where it's still natural, just cave.
Okay. All right. So let's see. We're coming in the upper left-hand corner.
You are.
Okay. Well, gentlemen, I suppose this is where the adventure begins. And I'll throw Yaz a wink, and I pick up the bone that they provided. I'll say Dreda in light and draconic, and it bursts into flames, and I'll duck and go through the hole.
So as you cross through to the other side, and this dim blue light begins to spill into this otherwise black cavernous area, could you go ahead and make me a dexterity save?
When he dies. That'd be perfect.
I don't think there's a dex save with Sphere of Annihilation.
Right. Yeah. Oh, heavens to bed sheets. 8.
Okay. So as you step through, your foot hits something that is solid, but is not solid to stand on. And you hear this metallic scraping as your foot shoots out from underneath you, toppling you to the ground. You don't take any damage, but you hear a clang, 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 scrape. And as you kind of bring your torch to bear and look, you see portions of a mess kit on the ground that, as you quickly take inventory, seems to be missing its metal plate that you then see kind of glinting in the distance. And you realize that you simply stepped onto this plate in the darkness and it skittered, but it definitely, in that moment of scraping and falling, you two were like, ghosts are contagious. And you guys hear that sort of ruckus from the other side. This clang, scrape, swing, whoomph, clatter, clatter, clatter.
Okay.
You're a chuckle. Okay. Watch your step.
And when you come through, you see a couple. There's two different kind of mess kits that are set here. Some what look like coal sacks that have been laid down and laid on from the looks of it.
Mm-hmm.
And if everyone can go ahead and give me a perception check.
Sure.
much better. I rolled a natural 20 on that one. So 20.
All right.
Adding all of my huge bonuses, I got a 4.
So have a negative number tug rolls.
No. 4.
Okay. So they're taking in the scenery, but you do see a piece of parchment folded next to one of these kits.
Okay.
And when you open it, it looks like it's maybe like the equivalent of a child's coloring book, right?
Okay.
And scrawled on it in Dwarvish and then very broken Common. These are old world dwarves, apparently. Is if you find this, we're all alive. We hear things. Got to keep moving. Looking for a way out.
So I say, well, it looks like they've moved on to try and find a different way out of here. It's going to make things a bit harder. They said they heard noises, so stay on your toes.
Collapsing ceiling, maybe?
I think they would have said that. This is their profession. I'm sure they would be able to tell the difference between a simple collapse and something else.
Tug, give me a Hmm. What skill do you have that relates to your carpentry?
Yeah.
Well, if it's related to carpentry, I mean, you could just do like intelligence, but use his
Yeah, you could do
proficiency.
use intelligence or wisdom, but add your proficiency, whatever works out better for you.
If it's a you know a related thing, if it's more to do with like doing carpentry than dexterity or something.
Mhm.
20.
Nice.
So as you were crawling through the hole, you got to see one of the beams, the supports, right?
Right.
And it looks like it was snapped, like just naturally snapped. But as you sort of look at it a bit further, you can see small tool signs on it. And you realize that it was made to look naturally snapped. Like it looks almost like maybe some claws got to it, but when you look at it closer, you can see tool marks.
Mm.
Mm.
And I'm sorry, my mind skipped a gear. What's your name again?
Yeah.
No,
Oh, Belthus.
Belthus. Belthus. And I point at the broken cut piece of wood. Saba, somebody done this.
I nod and I go over and I look at it and I say,
And yeah,
well,
with his
well
help, he
spotted.
can point you to the tiny tool marks.
Yeah, I say, well spotted. Good job. That's clearly is someone did this. I don't want to insult him by saying the word sabotage. So I say,
Oh, I know the word. I just couldn't get it to come out.
yeah, yeah, but I don't want to show you up. So yeah, I say, all the more reason to be on our guard. Either there's potentially a traitor among the dwarves or something worse. Can you tell what sort of tools did it? Was it professional wood carpenter tools, or was it improvised, made up tools?
You know that it wasn't done by carpenter's tools, but it was done by tools, like not improvised. This was right. It'd be like a guy who builds dynamite, looking at the work of a sapper and going, "All right, they don't use the same tools I do, but
He knew what he was doing.
right."
So someone knew what they were doing, basically. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, same applies. Either sabotage or something worse. We have two directions we can go. Did the message indicate which direction they went?
It did not.
Do either of you have any skill in tracking by any chance? I hunted a bit as a boy, but nothing. It's nothing like this terrain.
No.
Well, then let's.
I've got survival.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you can do it.
So well, let's take a look down a short way down each one, see if we see any new footprints.
18.
Okay. So arbitrarily, we're going to call it the north tunnel and the south tunnel, right?
Yeah.
All right. So when you go down the north tunnel, still, you can see little carts, mine carts that have coal in them still.
Mhm.
And so there's a higher concentration of coal powder on the ground. And so you're able to see that there are footprints, multiple footprints that are
Mhm.
both coming and going. But you also notice that there is some sort of strange three-toed and like heel-clawed, if that makes sense,
Mhm.
Yeah.
footprint in there as well.
Any-
But something sits off with you about that. Is also, you can't put your finger on it. I mean, you can. You just stick your finger in it, but you can't quite figure out what's off about it.
Okay,
But something
any-
seems off about it. And the footprints, you notice that some of them seem like they were walking. Some of them are that skirted foot where it was running,
uh-huh.
and there is no clear direction. Like they ran that way, but they walked this way. It seems that it happened both ways, and that taloned foot also goes both ways.
Okay, any of the footprints considerably smaller because we're
Yes.
looking for a kid?
Yes,
Mm.
but
Okay.
it also seems like his footprints aren't as common.
But are they going deeper or are they coming out?
Both.
Kid may have bolted for it, or an adult picked him up, maybe.
The southern tunnel has been worked further, so there's less of the coal powder, coal dust on the ground. So it takes you a bit longer to find. You don't really find any sign of anything until after you make that hook there.
Uh-huh.
And when you get there, you see a miner's pick. It catches the light of the torch and it glints, and there is this goo on the end of the pick itself.
Hmm. 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 I move closer to the the goo.
Okay.
To inspect it.
So when you get up on it, it has a earthy and irony smell to it. It seems to have dried hard in certain places and sticky in others.
Okay.
And as you if you dip your finger into it or something else and you rub it, it's got a reddish black color to it.
Hmm. Hmm.
Pitchy?
I
Pitchy like
wonder.
tree sap?
Viscous, like you took thin motor oil and mixed it with dirt.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, if you guys like get it onto your fingers and get it close to the light. Anyone have medicine?
Yeah.
Hang on.
Yeah.
Come on, Tug.
Yep.
You can do it, Tug. Let me see. No.
Negative.
All right, Tug, make me another survival roll.
Two plus 2 is 4 plus 2 is 6.
Yeah, it's something.
What are we seeing?
So
I heard the viscous part.
he rounded the corner and he found a miner's pick that the sharpened portion of it has this goo on it, and the goo is sticky and viscous in places and dried hard in others. And it's got a reddish black color to it for you to run your finger through it and kind of smear it. It smells irony and earthy.
I don't recognize it, but I suspect I would suspect blood of some kind. Maybe put up a fight.
Maybe this was a pocket of material that they pierced.
That could be too.
You definitely think it's more organic than a pocket of something that they.
Okay.
But that at least as far as until that next drop south again, is all you see as far as signs of individuals. But right where it drops south again, you can see the wall has these tool marks in it that are not in the same direction as the rest of the mine, right? So these walls have been widened precisely, and here is random like marks in the wall where it's been struck with a pick or an axe or some other metallic weapon.
And where is this on this map?
It is so the pick you guys find is right here, and then the marks on the wall are down here.
Okay.
I'm glad everybody else can see that because I really can't see you pointing at it.
It took me a sec.
I can do it this way too. You see the red dot?
Yep.
Yeah, that's better.
All right, the pick is right here.
Yep.
The markings on the wall start in this area, and see how it kind of narrows a bit there?
Uh-huh.
They are very prevalent on both sides of the walls in that area.
Okay. Are the shoring timbers still up in this area at all since that's the worked mine?
They are. The ones that are down in this area are also scarred from having been hit by picks, it looks like.
Yeah.
But also there is a very dramatic 3-clawed, air quotes, mark that goes into one of the timbers over there as well.
I'm kind of looking at it to say, I wonder if something followed them. They used this as sort of a choking point to fight them.
Yeah.
Well, we don't see any bodies, so that could bode well.
No blood.
No blood.
Hidden, maybe behind a barrier. They've taken shelter deeper down in the cave system.
Perhaps, or it said they were looking for a way out, so perhaps they did. Although I think we're going to be below sea level soon, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, you guys are probably right about there right now.
Yeah. But all right, yeah, I guess time is an issue, so we're going to keep moving, I guess.
You're going to keep going down this particular passage.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So as you guys continue to move on, everyone can make me a perception check. It's hearing based, so that makes a difference for you.
I don't think so, but
oh yes, 19, 20. Sweet. Not a natural.
Not bad. New character 16.
All right.
16.
So all of you hear it. DBJ, you are the first to hear it. There is this sort of scuttling sound. If you imagine the sound that a crab makes when it rapidly runs across some loose rock, right? That's sort of, and it's coming from in front of you.
I'll draw my sword. I remove the a small wooden shield from my back. Not nearly as nice as Tug's, but functional.
All right. I still have my staff. I'm not. It's more or less a walking stick for me than an actual weapon. But I pull the scarf down off of my face and start to pull the wrappings back from my hands. Looks like my face has been scarred multiple times by like some kind of disease or something like that. Pockmarked and
Mhm.
little hideous.
Probably don't even notice I'm staring
Yeah.
down the hall at this point.
Dark.
By the way, I tucked that bone into my little belt loop,
Sure.
and I whisper to my blade. This time, ironically, it's the same word as to the bone, but just in a different language, and use a light spell so the blade illuminates, begins to glow with light.
So that light spell reaches further than your diminished 20 foot. And so as that
A
sort
little
of
bit.
right, I think it was at 30, right? So as
I
it
think so.
burst and this light sort of starts chasing itself down the corridor, you see this stringy I don't even want to call it hair because there's so little of it. You see these strands of hair hanging down from the ceiling, and as you look up, there's this face with these deep set crimson eyes and this jagged tooth grin that is holding onto the roof and kind of running your direction. And when the light hits it, it hisses and it goes and it drops to the ground. And you guys can roll initiative.
Evil
rather
Dead, man. It's a deadite. I've seen these.
Oh, sweet. Yes. 22. Yes.
An exceptionally average 12 for me.
Nice. These dice.
It's 12 for Belfast.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that part. Initiative roll?
Yeah.
Yeah.
22.
18.
Yep, and 22 for Yaz.
All right, there you go. So Yaz, you go first.
All right. Let's see. The thing gives us the that horrific giggle and skirts towards us or away.
Yeah, so
from us?
it drops off the ceiling and is now kind of ghoulishly loping across the ground.
I leaning against my staff. I bring my hand up to my face and I take a deep breath, and then it looks like my body's like constricting, and I cough up something in my hand, and I'm going to roll it, literally drop it on the ground in front of me, and I'm going to cast a grease spell.
All right.
And it's where's my cards? My cards. I'm so mad. Yep. I'm gonna place it in front of us. Or yes, in front of us. That sounds good.
Okay. I believe it has to make a deck save, not to.
Probably to cross it.
So it'll do that on this turn.
Yeah, deck save or fall prone. And it's my spell, whatever. It's 12. The
Right.
my DC's casting.
Okay. So let's see. So as it's loping towards you, you see it hits it, and there's a bit of a missteer for a moment, like as its front legs want to shoot out from under it, and it kind of scrabbles, and it regains its footing, but has lost its momentum as it had to do this.
Mm-hmm.
So it almost like comes to a halt like 10 feet away from you guys. Tug, what are you doing?
Doug pulls his hammer, Nails and moves and charges forward across.
Great. Tug, can you make me a deck save? Not to slip into the
I
same-
know.
No. No. Don't step in it.
Natural 20.
Okay, so Tug, like all you hear is spwick, 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 as he just like pounds his way through the. And you can go ahead and attack, Tug. So I'm using natural 20 on the.
Don't step in it, Tug. It's
14.
nasty.
All right, 14 hits.
Wow.
I remember this one.
Wow.
14 plus 3. 10.
Okay, 10 points of damage as you hit it. You're hitting with a club, right?
No, a hammer.
Oh, same difference. Blunt damage.
Mm-hmm.
You hear this horrendous as the
What
The
else
hammer
is a carpenter
sinks.
going to use?
as the hammer sinks into the the side of this beast. It lets out a yip yowl and has a very concerned look on its face. Alex.
All right. So Belfast, he steps forward and kind of holding his shield towards it, swings his long sword for a pleasant little 15.
It'll hit.
All right. The light sort of dances around as the lit sword is flashing light in weird angles now, casting shadows. And as I look for my die. All right. For 6 points of damage.
And it's slashing damage, yeah?
Yeah.
So your sword slices through the air, illuminating the sickly grease on the ground now mixing with the coal dust, giving this black viscous goo on the ground. The crimson eyes of this thing reflecting off the blade and the light bouncing off these black walls. And your sword slices through it, doing way less effective than you would have expected. And it passes through like the loose clothing on this thing and scrapes against bone or something on the underside as this thing kind of instinctively pulls away from you and hisses, and it turns and runs. So I believe that both of you will get an attack of opportunity because it does not have the ability to disengage.
As I shout, I yell, "Don't let it get away, Tug!"
Nails.
13 for it hit. Assuming the same.
Yeah. So while it's in retreat, you need a 15 instead of a 14. But yes.
Okay. This one's 9 points of damage.
Okay.
Oh, good.
So your blade sinks in and you feel something bite off, right? Like a chunk of something. What were we saying?
Okay.
Okay. And 14 hits.
Nope, you need a 15 while it's running.
Okay. So I missed.
All right, so this woof of this large hammer swings above it, and it has moved its 60 feet into the darkness beyond the light of even the sword at this point.
It is fast as hell.
Yeah. Damn. You both all right?
Nails.
Yes. And I reach down into the goo that I left there, almost like I'm drawing it back into my body to get rid of it.
All right. So that goes away.
Well, I know it's dark, but Tug is lumbering back down the hallway. All you can
going
hear
after
is nails.
All right. I kind of shrug to Yazzie. We better go, and I'll take up after him, holding my sword up high enough where hopefully it'll cast a little bit of light for Tug.
Once he's outside the light, he's in trouble.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So I'm trying to kind of catch up to him and at least get him within my sphere of light before, even if I can't get to him.
Sure. So Tug, you go bouldering down this this tunnel.
Yeah, I'm not dumb enough that I'm running in the dark, but I'm not slowing down a whole lot either.
Right. And you get to what's essentially a four-way intersection, right? You come to the left first, and you can see the timbers there that shore it up. And then you come out to a bit of a room that is completely natural. The stone in here is grayer than the rest of it, as it hasn't been worked. There's not as much coal, powder, dust sitting on it. The walls are slicker with water because they haven't been treated yet. The water there is as you hit this room, there's a bit of a splash as you're standing in rainwater. Like, I mean, just the slightest bit, enough that you can splash on the floor. There's drips coming from the ceiling, and you begin to hear exactly that. You can hear.
All right, so I'm gonna rust some more.
But which direction do you turn?
Ooh.
Straight ahead.
Okay. Straight ahead. So you go. You continue to move. Off to your right, you see another natural tunnel that runs down. It looks like it runs down at a pretty steep angle as well.
Okay.
You come to another one that runs down at a pretty steep angle, and then as you go ahead and you're moving, not running, but you're moving at a rapid pace, you begin to as you realize you're climbing an incline.
I'm not screaming, but I'm kind of raising my voice. Tug, hold up. We lose him. We may not.
Tug,
I
do
feel
you
we may not
hold
come
up,
back again.
or are you going to maintain 30 feet in front of these guys?
I'll slow down. I'm not stopping.
Okay. So eventually you guys all group back up. Anywhere that it's in blue, it's only 5 feet wide, right? They haven't mined it out yet to be wider. So
Okay.
Tug, you are at the front. Oh, let me change this back to red so it's easier to see. Red, I say. You're at the front. You're here.
Okay.
And as you approach this direction, you can see light coming from in here.
Okay.
Good.
You can hear a voice. And you see at least 2 shadows moving on the wall over here.
Okay. How tall is this?
So where you are now is only 8-ish feet tall, but the room opens up and out.
Okay.
So
I'm gonna
here
halt.
too.
Yeah, I'm gonna halt right at the entrance.
Okay.
I'm gonna halt right at the entrance. Like I said, you don't get yourself killed, but the solution to problems is hit it with a bigger hammer.
Or a smaller hammer.
More times.
More times. That's right. In fact, as we sort of come jogging up behind him, I'm already sheathing my sword, and I'm that hammer I picked up for the pitons. I pulled that out of my pack.
Okay.
And I'm going to whisper light to that now.
Ooh, there you go.
All right.
So I have this. I have this kind of little like three. I imagine sort of like a little 3-pound sledge. You know,
A single jack. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you guys are attempting to move quietly, could you give me a stealth roll?
Okay.
Yeah. I guess
I ain't moving. Well, I ain't moving right now.
That's fine. I mean, if you're not, if Tug's not stealthing, he's just considered an auto fail for the party. It's
Right.
fine.
Oh, that's
13. I got a 14.
Okay.
Yeah, but it could still hide our numbers, even if they know he's coming. They may not know there's more than him. I don't know.
Well, like I said, when he hit the entrance there, he stopped. He's not charging in blindly without backup.
Yeah.
What was your roll, DBJ?
8 total.
Okay. So,
So no surprise for
the
us.
paladin like slings up against the wall, and he's fairly stealthy. Tug's standing still, and then Yaz comes in, is like clop, 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 clop.
Yeah.
I wore my heavy feet today.
I just,
But it doesn't matter. It seems that whatever is going on in here, has this person distracted. And so what you see as you look into the room,
Mhm.
there is a bit of a a pool of water over here.
Okay.
It's about 3 foot by 3 foot.
All right.
It looks like it's being carved into the ground, not stonework, but carved. And there's a stream of water that seems to be pouring out of the ceiling, just straight down into it. So there's just constant like splash, splash, splash. But it's not ever overflowing, so apparently it drains somewhere as well.
Right.
There is a crude stone dais right here.
Mm-hmm.
There is an old altar on top of it. The altar is stained with time and age and lots of blood.
Mm-hmm.
There's a set of stairs that lead up and then disappear where you can't see them.
Mm-hmm.
And then there is a statue relief-esque thing poking out of the wall over here. And kneeling in front of it is a figure. And to that figure's left is that crimson-eyed, ghoulish thing that you saw earlier.
Okay. But it doesn't look like they hurt us despite our
No,
our racket.
the person who's kneeling in front of that statue is chanting very loudly.
Okay.
And as
is
they
it-
begin to chant, and you hear the crescendo of it, you can see this green energy coming off the statue and moving towards that ghoulish thing.
Oh no, it isn't. So, yeah, I'm gonna charge this thing.
All right, you charging at the person or the thing?
I'm charging at the one chanting.
Okay.
and if I can get any air, like off that dais, like leap and then come down on it, Thor style. Although much less dramatic with a tiny little hammer, but
Roar! Ting! Yeah. So
bring the
I'll tell
hammer
you
down.
what. Go ahead and give
It's
me
hammer time.
an athletics
That's right.
or an acrobatics roll, your choice.
All right, I'm gonna go with athletics, which isn't too bad for an 18.
Okay. So yeah, you go charging in. You step up onto this dais. You
Mhm.
leap off of this stone altar. Your foot slipping a little bit in what you're just hoping in your mind is water.
Yeah.
And you go flying through the air, and you come down. Go ahead and give me your.
All right. All right. So 16 for the attack roll.
Okay. So you come down with this mighty wham, and you see this green energy arc from around this person as this shield shatters into pieces. There is a cacophonous boom of almost thunder that emanates as that shield is cracked. There's a flash of green that illuminates the entire room, and in that moment, you can see that over the ages there have been runes drawn and carved into these walls. And the person that was chanting stops. The green energy that was going towards that thing is sucked back into the statue, and it scuttles away from you, like almost falling to the floor and scampering rather quickly. DJ and or Yaz and Tug, you guys will each also get a surprise before we'll roll for initiative.
Okay. As he charges in, I'm right behind him, and all you can hear is nails, and I'm charging the goblinish guys.
You're charging the thing?
Yeah,
The red-eyed thing. Yeah.
the red-eyed thing.
All right, go for it.
Okay.
And all I'm gonna do is run up and hit it.
All right, go for it. Is a 14 to hit it?
Well, 22 should do it then.
Yes.
It should. Yeah.
And 5.
All right. So 5 again. You hear this crunching sound as your hammer bites into it. Yes.
All right. After I see Tug smash into it, I'm going to extend my hand, and the visible veins on my hand take on like a green cast, and out of the palm of my hand, I shoot it with acid.
Okay.
Or attempt to, anyway.
Nice.
+4. I rolled it. 15 total.
Yeah, it hits.
Oh, cool. And it's 5 points of damage.
All right. So the acid begins to boil and pucker at it, and the string that it has for hair, that stringy hair, falls away, and some of the clothing rips off. And as it does, what you see is imagine if someone had taken and made a marionette out of bone and driftwood. And it used like otter claws instead of fingers, and it has scales in places, and but it kind of cackles, and its head does this entire 360, but not like front to back, like chin down, the chin up, the chin down. It just rotates.
Right. Its head is stationary, but its body rotates, you mean? Or do you mean the other way around? He just turns.
No, its body stays there, but if you would imagine, instead of like, so normally when we think of a 360 rotation, right? Like if this was the head and this is the face, you would expect this, right?
Right.
But it doesn't. Here's the chin, and what it does is,
yeah.
Oh, nice.
Nasty.
But it does that, and then guessing you'll give me your initiatives.
Did I do any damage to that guy, by the way, when I hit him with the hammer?
You did not feel any contact with him whatsoever.
Okay, so did so it felt more ethereal, just not.
No,
there?
it felt like you just took away all of his temporary hit points from Armor of Agathis.
I got you. Okay.
Last time. All right. 7.
Oh, initiative.
Okay.
That's better than last time. 16.
All right.
A lot worse than last time. 7.
Yeah. It's got a 13.
Okay. So the form on the ground stands, and it stands to its full height of a whopping like 3.5 feet tall.
Huh.
And it's deeply hooded in almost that sort of Palpatine way, right?
It's that gnome, isn't it?
Yeah.
The map gnome. It's him, isn't it?
But it extends its hand towards you, and you see these fingers come out, and it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it turns like this, and these sickly green bolts pop out of its hand, and one sails towards Tug, and one sails towards Belfast.
Okay.
And
is this necrotic or radiant damage?
it's force damage. You each take a whopping 1 point of damage from magic missile.
What?
I start screaming and crying and running out. They've been hurt before. Stop it. No, I don't.
Man, that was a terrible roll. All right. After it, Belfast.
Oh, sorry. I'm not used to the name yet.
I don't
Okay.
know my name.
So, seeing that I'm fighting something new now, I'm just gonna like toss the hammer actually I'm gonna just toss the hammer on the floor because it's a light source at this point.
Right.
And I'm gonna draw my my longsword and step forward and rush forward towards this what I'm going to think of as a gnome, and attack.
All right.
Not today, little creature. 17.
Oh yeah, you hit all of it in one shot. All of it.
You hit all of them. And 4 points of damage.
All right. The sword bites in. It's it doesn't hiss because intelligent things don't hiss. But it reaches at the wound and it steps backwards.
I'm actually gonna shout at it too. I say, "Where are the dwarves? What have you done with them?"
Okay.
Release them and we'll spare your life.
It doesn't respond. But that makes it Tug's turn.
Yep.
Fails, and I hit it again.
All right.
17.
You hit it.
And
big
10.
hit.
Okay. Yeah, another chunk, and you finally see what that cracking is as you are breaking bone and driftwood off this thing, and it just tinks to the floor, you know? That sort of hollow bone dried wood sound.
We all know so well.
We all know that sound.
Every Christmas.
Nice. Sorry.
That and the screaming of the reindeer.
Right.
If you kill them before you cook them, they don't scream as loud. So this thing turns to you, Tug, and it rears up and almost stands for a moment, and you get the impression that it's much more bear-like in its movement than you had thought before.
Mm-hmm.
And it brings these claws down. As they're coming down, you can tell they're very mismatched, right? Like it's like otter claws on one hand and actual bear claws on the other, and all you're thinking is, please let the otter claws hit me. Like, if I have my choice.
If one of them's got to do it, let it be the left hand, not the right.
18.
That hits.
Okay. 4 points of damage as it rakes down. As it does, one of these claws just chunks off. This thing is not very well made. And that takes us back up to the caster's turn. And he steps back, and as he does, you can see that he drops like what looks like a wand. As it sort of tumbles and clatters to the ground, it looks like elvish in make, but you're not really sure. And he juts his hand out, and lightning leaps from his hand.
Lovely. Did Yaz get to go?
No, because he doesn't get a turn anymore.
Okay.
Let's see. Where's Yaz supposed to go?
Yeah,
Yaz
me, I think.
So. Yeah, it should have been.
So the guy cast.
Yep. Yeah, I should have gone before Tug.
Yeah.
So Yaz, why don't you do your stuff real fast?
All right. I'm going to attempt to help Belfast, and I gesture towards the I don't know what he is, the shrunken.
We're calling him a gnome.
We're calling him a gnome.
All right.
No man, sir.
A gnome answer, yeah.
Yeah, and fire some green a greenish liquid at him to hurt him, but this time it's going to be a poison spray. I believe I need to make a roll to hit if possible.
We don't want to know the semantic component on that.
These are no mantra necrom.
1 plus, is it plus 4? Yep. 14 total.
Yeah, 14 hits him. 14 is exactly what you need to hit the guy.
All right. It is a Constitution saving throw to resist taking 1d12 damage.
Yeah, because this guy's got a Constitution. Let's see. 12. That's what he rolled.
So the DC should be what, 8 plus or yeah.
It's a DC. It's 12. I mean, that's the DC. The DC is 12. I'm sorry.
Okay, so yeah, he actually like the poison spray hits him and he spits for a moment, but he seems to be okay.
Okay. Yeah, it's like a. I'm thinking it's like a contact poison. Like you would breathe it in more than being injected with poison.
Right. So you breathe out this cloud, and he's just like, but then he does go ahead and try and realizing now that you are a caster.
Yes.
He lightning bolts you.
Ouch.
And he rolls a mighty 12 to do it.
Yep. I've only got a yeah. No, my AC's 12. Yeah, it's
all right. So he'll hit you, and he'll hit you for 3 points of damage.
Ooh, half. And my flaky skin smells bad as pus bubbles.
What you guys do notice is that the spell doesn't stop, right? There's now this green arcing beam of electricity between the two of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I know this.
That takes us to Alex.
Belthus, I think. Yeah. So, see, I'm kind of watching this. I'm gonna basically try to kind of swing at his arm to try and not only hurt him but break the connection.
Yeah.
12, 16. So
yeah, it definitely hits.
Yeah. And big money. So it takes 9 points of damage from that one. So slicing up. Is this if it's a concentration?
He does. It is, and he does not make his save. He rolled a 2 on his concentration.
So I caught him right across the arm, putting a big slice, blood up, and
I'm completely cool with the fact that he just cut his arm off. I just.
Well, I don't know what he has bad points, so I don't assume that, but.
That's pretty cinematic, right? Just so like the lightning stops hitting you, but this spurt of blood just
sprays the blood in your face to blind you so he can stab you with a dagger in the other hand.
So now it's Yaz's turn. The damage, the lightning bolt has been disconnected, but you did get squirted with some blood.
That's all right. I dropped to my knees from the pain, like and there's a good chance that they're going to attack me. Do I get my action now?
Yes.
Okay. I am going to cover myself in a fog cloud and just make this cloud of
gas.
Gas around me, standard around me. Yes, I do. Yes. It's broccoli farts. Sometimes it's bean farts, but
well, if it's broccoli, it's a bright green cloud. If it's the bean farts, it's a brown one.
All right.
So I make a fog cloud and center it on me, and which I don't believe the spell actually says you're immune to its effects.
I don't think so. Yeah, I think you would be just as blinded
As
by it
vulnerable.
as anyone. Yeah.
Right. So anything in it or through it is heavily obscured, which basically just means that you're blinded or
Yeah.
you have the blinded condition,
Right.
essentially.
Okay.
But I'm doing it so that nothing can target me in it.
Sure.
And then I can use my staff and scramble my way out of the fog. But I'm doing it like panic.
Right.
like a puffer fish just
Yep.
takes it to the cloud.
Exactly. So
All right, cool.
yeah, that's my action. Yep.
Then it is. Well, then it
Tug.
is. Yeah, it's Tug.
Tug.
Nails. 13. I missed.
So yeah, so you hit, and you just happen to hit a bit more of the more solid portion of it. It in turn, it looks like it's about to swing at you, and then you see it look over at the caster with a missing arm,
Mm.
and it disengages from you, or it moves from you, so you can take your attack of opportunity
Ooh,
because it's moving to hit the paladin.
Oh, that time I hit it.
Okay, go for it.
23, I think, makes contact.
I thought you said 23 points of damage. I was like, good gracious.
Told you it was-
First level.
Told you it
First
was-
level character, fourth level damage. Suck it.
If he was a barbarian, he might do it with all kinds of raging and whatnot.
9.
Okay.
Sweet.
So as it turns, you hit it on like what would be its hindquarters, right? And this leg snaps off of it and goes flying across the room. And so it barely finishes making it over to Alex. To Belfast. It's going to attack you, but at disadvantage because
Okay.
it's all wobbly now, which is
Right.
good because it rolled a 20 on the first one and an 8 on the second one.
Okay.
So it like
That is
rears
miss.
up, and that claw's coming in and just like completely misses as it just flips itself onto its back, right? Because it's lost its back leg.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so I kind of pick my foot up as it slides into. Whoa!
The hooded figure is missing an arm.
Surrender and you needn't die.
Yeah, no, he is so fast to like he's got this like missing arm in front of him, and he just throws his other hand up in the air like he wants to know more of this. Like this dude's dying. He has 1 hit point.
All right. Is his minion still?
So it's doing that thing where it's on its back and it can't figure out how to right itself.
Okay.
Nails.
That's
Yeah, that's fine. Like, I mean, Pug can literally just walk over and be like,
All right. I will go over to him and in Scooby Doo fashion pull with my sword like poised at him, and I pull back his hood.
okay.
wasn't for you meddling kids, I'd have gotten away with it.
That's
so,
right.
so underneath that is
Rats on roof.
so, underneath of it, as the hood comes back, right? The cloak, which is more like a cultist robe, kind of falls away,
Mm.
and there is a well dressed, like
little boy.
like- almost like butler style clothing halfling.
Yeah.
Mm.
I say, I kind of boop, make sure he's not holding anything, and I say, sit down. We'll tend to your wound.
He does so.
If I give enough healing to him, like if I like reposition his hand and give him enough healing, can I reattach it?
Probably not.
Okay.
I think that's restoration.
Or
Yeah.
regeneration, or a high level cleric. But I mean,
Yeah. Anyway, that's fine.
so he's just armless.
So yeah, just so as he's sort of bleeding out, I'll say
Call him Stumpy for short.
you're right.
Just on one side.
Yes, Yeah, as if you could.
Okay. And I suck in all the gas.
That's all right. Tug is yelling nails.
So as you hit this thing and you crush the bone that made the head of this, the crimson eyes, like they die out and all the pieces just fall apart.
That's all right. There's still another bad guy standing there. Nails. And the hammer comes back.
No. Hold on, Tug.
Some pieces are like,
he's surrendered.
I make my way over, still sizzling.
I'm gonna reach out to and touch his arm, the wounded one, gently, and I'm gonna use my my ASMR ability, and I can heal 1 point per level, so I can do one.
well, the bleeding stops.
Right, enough to stop the bleeding and make sure he's not going to just die right there. So I touch him, and you feel the sort of warmth. My eyes glow momentarily as it happens, and as I speak to him, my voice sort of deepens into this sort of resonant, otherworldly tone. I say, "Now tell me, where are the dwarves who are trapped in here?"
He south, one of the first passageways. There's a small room. They're in there.
This.
What was that?
I said. Did you? Are you responsible for collapsing the tunnel and causing all this?
Yes.
I poke Balthus with my staff. I'm like, the child. Tell me, ask him about the child.
Yes.
While Tug walks off and goes to the other side of that podium thing and is sitting down.
Okay.
The other dwarf's name was
He's
Albie,
crying.
right?
He's crying.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Albie. Yep.
Albie.
He tells you, the boys with them. They're all safe. Scared, but safe.
Do you want I should check?
I think Alex might be frozen.
I think he is too. Ooh. He lives in Bumfuck. So, yeah, I think he's frozen up. He might have to leave and come back.
Yeah, but after he gets through custom, so we don't have to listen to it. Tug sitting on the other side of the altar. He's crying.
Crying?
Sure. Tug bad. He hit Little Man.
Or
Or was going to hit the Little Man. Don't hit him. That's the one thing that stuck to him through his entire childhood. You don't hit people littler than you. When you're that big and that dumb, you don't hit people smaller than you. So Tug bad. You're going to hit the little guy.
Oh. Only thing worse than body horror is that marionette type movement. I can't stand that marionette type movement with the strings, or it's like this random joints moving and it's not syncopated in any way. It's
You back, Alex?
No, he just thinks he is. There he is.
There he is. Yeah, he froze up a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, he tells you that the dwarves are fine. The child's with them. You ask him if it was him that did this, and he questioningly says yes.
He doesn't know.
Well, he'll have to face justice then. We'll tie him up.
Okay.
and lead him to where where he said the dwarves were.
Yeah, so he takes you down to their dwarves, and they are
Hang on a
very.
second, I'll be right back.
Okay.
They're very joyous for being released. They
Yay.
don't look too much worse for the wear.
Okay. Okay.
One of them does have an injury in his shoulder that has been taken care of.
Okay.
The boy is scared, but in good spirits because, as dwarves are, this is all his family, right? It's all like one or two clans,
Mhm.
and so at least he had that going for him. And
Yeah.
you know you can get them all back out if you if you go back out the way you came back in. It takes you a little bit. The halfling will tell you that there's a set of stairs in the rooms you guys are just in. It's a much faster entrance.
Yeah, a little skeptical, but I say I ask him, where does it lead?
And he tells you that it leads to the garden.
Glance around to see if any of the dwarves or these guys have any idea what that means.
They tell you the only garden
I'm
they're
in town.
aware of is the ladies' garden.
All right.
All right.
No one else
So-
around here is rich enough to have a garden.
Yeah. All right. Well, we will go up the stairs then.
So as you go up the stairs, it opens up, or rather, the exact opposite. It narrows down, and eventually you come out of a very large, almost petrified dead tree trunk that is in the middle of a garden in the lady's estate. Now you like literally push out through some ivy and through some bushes, and poof, you're in her yard.
Interesting.
Are we still? Does it look like we're still underground?
No. You guys climbed
Oh,
hundreds of
okay.
stairs too.
Remember, I got to huff and puff and go chasing after this thing.
Right. You guys went up an incline and you went upstairs again, so. But yeah, you get out and you're essentially in her backyard. When you turn and look, you can see the foothills very near you. Her property backs up to it, right? And she over time, you know, she eventually comes out and she admits that that's her butler, like that's the guy who takes care of her house. But the main thing, I guess, is getting the the dwarves back down to Stonehelm. And so she travels along with you, and you guys go back down. It's a bit of a of a walk, so she offers the use of a carriage, and she rides back down into town, and then over to the the mining office with you guys and the five dwarves in tow.
Cool.
I'm back.
So I don't know what part of that you caught. The lady comes out. She admits. She says that's her butler, and that yes, he will face justice. And then she offers the use of her carriage. So all of you guys like ride back down in her carriage, back down to town. You see this sort of like shifty look from the butler as he's like looking out the window and he sees that halfling doomsayer up there. And, like all of a sudden she's like, oh man, yeah, spirits feel pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and head to the next port town full of ghosts, and just like and he's basically like screaming, sister, don't leave me. And you get back to Stonehelm, and like, I mean, everyone there is super thankful for rescuing the dwarves, and especially all the. And that is where the little introductory adventure ends.
Nice.
Very good. Very good.
That was fun.
It's funny that you were like, I'm gonna pull it back in a very Scooby-Doo manner, and I'm like, that's because this is a Scooby-Doo mission.
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, very much so.
Zoinks.
Well, we had more. If we had more time, I would look more into her because, this guy might have had she likely had something to do with it. But
Yeah, so essentially,
that was my thinking anyway.
essentially it's the halfling, the brother and sister, the butler and his sister,
Yeah.
who had stumbled upon this old temple, like shrine, and had used it, and the patron that he had become a warlock of
Mm-hmm.
had convinced him that there was a lot of wealth to be had, but he had to scare away everybody else. And the major industry here is the mine. So
Yeah.
they came up with this scheme, right? But he's not a horrible person, so he didn't just straight up kill the dwarves.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad I didn't kill him then.
He just got very unlucky in who he got as his patron for being a warlock.
Yeah. he's got some rough buttling time ahead though with that missing hand.
And had you gone up north, there are some natural traps, not traps, but natural problems that would be like traps.
Obstacles.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So if you go north, you end up having traps, and then you fight the bear puppet in the room with the caster. And if you go south, you have an additional combat with the bear puppet, but it will always attempt to run away.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, the longer it stands there and gets that green energy, the more hit points it recovers.
Mm-hmm.
So it had only got back 1 hit point when you guys were like, no.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that green mist. If it was, what would have happened if we had just let it like pour out? If something worse would come along.
Yeah. So I the way I have it written is if you let it go for too long, essentially the puppet gets barbarian rage.
Oh, okay.
Right. So it gets all of its hit points back, and then it's barbarian rage.
Right.
It takes normal damage from everything except for poison, psychic, and slashing, piercing, because there's no substance to it.
Personal experience has taught me if you see an altar and someone chanting in front of it and there's something creepy happening, stop the chanting.
Yeah.
That's rule 1. Stop the chanting.
Yeah, and Tug's idea is you keep hitting the nail till it's all the way driven in.
Right.
So he's got to keep hitting the same nail.
Well, so I feel like if you wanted to make it a little bit more exploration-y, you add a few more tunnels to go explore.
Oh yeah, you could do a lot of that. Yeah.
With a larger party, you put 2 puppets in there instead of 1.
Yeah. Yeah, and if people are interested more in intrigue and things like that, you can, make other connections to the butler, like to the
100%. Like if you're using it as a jumping off point, there could be a lot of different things. Like the sister gets away, but also if the players aren't necessarily like, oh man, we're on limited time, let's go do this rescue.
Yeah.
Then you would be able to. Like I said, there's no halflings that work in the dwarven mining group, so that's kind of strange to begin with.
Yeah.
And then there's the aspect of why are the dwarves using such expensive wood to put it up, and that's meant to be like a whatever, right? Like, are there actually like precious gems some here and they just haven't told anybody, or
that may to me, that would have been the lead-in. I would tie the halfling lady, not the butler and his sister, into manipulating with the patron to some extent and working more backhanded, manipulating it because there are gems or something under there, and she's looking to move to another location to set up her resort town.
So I had thought about making her the bad guy at the beginning.
Well, I mean, I think the butler's a good idea at this point. I think if you go longer term, she becomes the background String puller.
I think she could. I think she could. I also think that so the way I wrote it to leave it kind of weird if you want to take off with it was that Fizzle Skimwalket could be a bad guy because he mapped all of this. That means he's aware that those stairs and that altar exist.
Yeah.
Right. So what does that imply about him?
Yeah.
He's her. He is her boyfriend.
Or her partner in getting this shut down so that they can mine out these.
Yeah, she's
expensive
interested in she's interested in the overall money. He is interested.
Right.
He's a gnome. He's interested in the gems.
Yeah. Or he could have just been paid off. You know, she might have just,
Bought it.
So
just bought him, say, hey, I'll pay you this. You keep your mouth shut about.
So the way I looked at it is I had gone the route against making her the bad guy because it seems too obvious at that point.
Mhm.
Plus, this woman, she's invested 60 years of her life into this place. Like,
yeah,
she's too old to up and go. But for her butler to have for Skimwalket, Fizzle Skimwalket to have told the butler over some drinks about this altar.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The butler to have found it and gone, hey, there's power here. So you have a mage who goes, okay, you found something that gives you magic. That's intriguing. Also, I happen to know that up tunnels A and B are precious gems. Like, we can make this go. And then he brings in his horrible sister, who is she's a con man. That's what she does.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but that was it. I mean, it's a very pocketed adventure, and it's meant to be for people who've never gotten to play D&D before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. That was fun.
I like get them to flex some skills and rolls.
Yeah, that was the one thing I was looking at was like, where's a place to get some more skill usage out of? Like, I like the idea of using the plate slip as the first saving throw because there's no penalty for missing it.
Yeah, no serious.
But it also sets a tone if you're a new player that okay, now I got to be careful when I'm going through this, right? So it slows down the dungeon crawl.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't sure, like, other skill uses. So I was looking at using a perception check and then either history or
knowledge, religion, or something like that would have been good within the confines of that altar space. Some kind of insignia or something like that. And since it was more a warlock rather than a cleric, tie in Fey world.
Sure. I mean, it'd be very easy to make it an old, like, goblin-esque altar, right? Because this used to be their territory on both sides of the... Yeah, a long time ago. And I had thought about maybe down one of the tunnels, legitimately putting in a single skeleton.
Mm-hmm.
Like, undead actually do exist down here. It's just part of being in a mine.
Yeah.
But I wasn't sure. So I think like if you have a rogue in the party, they get to scout ahead, and they're doing their detect traps and stuff. That's just fine. The ranger gets to do their tracking. That's why there was that is the point in having it be close to sea level, so that there's moisture in there, so that the coal dust turns into a mud, so that they're trackable. Because trying to track across stone is.
Yeah.
The other thing you could raise I don't know what the difficulty level was because I nailed that flip and roll, but low light would have made the difficulty a good bit more than what you would typically expect. Yeah.
So I think with if you're trying to increase the difficulty, you really stick to that 20-foot radius of light.
Yeah.
Because at 20 feet, almost every monster or adversary can close because they have a 30-foot movement.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
But yeah, if you guys have any thoughts on it afterwards, shoot me a message or whatever. Like, I'd be glad to.
NPC. I'm trying to think if there's any gap, but no, there's like saving throws, skill checks, NPCs.
And if you want to do like the social exploration portion of it, there are the two ends. There's
Right, with the traps.
Yeah.
And then interaction.
Yeah, I mean, you could have had some, some like you said, natural, air quote traps in the other tunnel. Because I mean, when the thing collapsed, it could have weakened other parts of it. So someone looking forward, there's a loose section that if they step on it the wrong way, it can bring down part of the ceiling and cause some.
Right.
Well, you also have the idea that you mentioned that explosive gas. So a sunken pocket where that gas is trapped. You can make it a noxious atmosphere as well as being explosive.
So I like that because one of the things I had thought is on the map on this portion here, I had thought about making it so that there's almost like a cliff inside here that you actually have to climb just for that skill check, right? And that danger.
Right.
That would drop 20 feet. And then in here would be something akin to spiders or what have you.
Yeah.
But they'd be cat-sized spiders, right? Nothing too horrible. Maybe only 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah.
Also having that
carrion worms.
Something, but having that like a misty cloud on the ground. So that maybe some player thinks back to, oh yeah, they talked about this natural gas, and then is like, oh, firebolt into that, and it nukes all of the spiders, but at the same time, now you're having to make that saving throw against essentially a fireball going off at your feet.
Right.
And getting blown out of there like a bullet.
That poor dwarf. All right, yeah,
exactly.
But play to the natural environment. The other thing is, I don't know how that spell works off the top of my head anyway, but one of the things about using regular torches is the flickering light. So you're using a low-cost light spell, so you give it that same flickering effect, and that's going to give you moving shadows to keep drawing there.
Yeah.
I guess you could have some foreshadowing of the altar and the sculpture too. Like if this place is obviously probably been down here a while, maybe there's some other writings on the wall, or kind of like the classic Paleolithic cave painting kind of things.
So what if that note that gets left isn't on parchment, right, on the coloring book page, right? I just did that to tie the kid, right?
Yeah.
But what if it's scratched into the wall, and then another message from the dwarves later on is scratched into the wall?
Yeah.
So the players start looking for that, and then all of a sudden they come to this, and like, okay, you see the writing, and it uses the dwarvish alphabet. But it's not dwarf because it's in goblin.
Right.
And then you go, huh. Because most level 1 PCs aren't going to speak goblin unless they're a ranger.
Right.
So here's this strange language, and so they start going, okay, there's been other people down here. I like that. Maybe I do that, change it instead of being on the coloring book page to being, and then there could just be like a dwarven teddy bear or something equally the same that gives the players the assurance that the child is with the other dwarves.
You can also do distract expectation. If in that northern tunnel, as they're looking, come across the skeleton of something way outside their class. Way outside their class, not a
troll,
skeleton.
a troll or something.
Yeah, I mean, because it's a first level adventure, so you got the skull of, like I said, a troll, or a bugbear or something that might be underground like that. Not that they're going to run into it, but it's going to cause, oh my God, what have we got ourselves into kind of look.
Okay, yeah, I like that, because the way I have this written right now, or semi-written is that it's either a level 0 adventure or a level 1 adventure
Mhm.
that has the potential to scale up to a level 3 adventure.
Mhm.
At level 0, the warlock only has cantrips, right? And he's only got 8 hit points. So the idea would be that your players should go through and then come out the other side. And if someone was like, "Oh man, now I feel like I should be a paladin or I should be a cleric," or even the person who's like, "Man, I kind of want to be a warlock."
Yeah. You can even bring them 0 to 1 in the course of the adventure. If they start 0 and have like the first, have a first small encounter that sort of, gets them over that hump into their, to their first part. If you want to bring it out, if you want to kind of extend it a bit more.
Yeah. Because I was thinking one other thing that'd be fun would be that ship that's got the spoiled rice on it.
Mhm.
If the first job, like if you're introducing this to a campaign, right? You're not.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily have to go. However long you've been here, now you're not in the docks, right? It kind of becomes more natural.
Mhm.
So if they took a job clearing, like maybe there's like a dire rat on board that ship,
Yeah.
so that their first encounter is confined in an actual monster, and then their second encounter is realizing that people are often as bad, if not worse, than monsters.
Yeah.
That could be good.
Mhm.
Well, cool. I appreciate you guys playing through it.
Yeah, no, that's fun.
Yeah, it's interesting.
We get to play, so win-win.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm trying to write up a series of 5 of these short adventures, and they're all going to be based out of Sculpton. Just because I really like that terrible little fish and coal mining town.
Cool
But
fish.
so there's the one that Stonehelm offers you. There's one that the lady offers you. There's one that the priest offers you, and that's as far as I've gotten. I'm trying to make it 5 adventures that could be any of the 5 of them could be started at level 0, but any of them be scaled up to level 3, so that you could potentially get from level 0 to level 3 in one town, more or less.
Right.
Like, some adventures would take you out a little bit.
Yeah. Another place they could draw from would be the Glass Fish.
Mm-hmm.
One of the ladies in the evening tag him with something. If you take it up on
pay.
no, I'm thinking more like a Jack the Ripper setup.
That's good.
Yeah.
I'm thinking more like a Jack the Ripper setup. You could use that, and especially since you're talking about scaling up, that would be on that level 3 level.
So I want to kind of put them out together.
Mystery in town.
Yep.
You got a mystery in town. So you've got exploration, social, combat. At least within solving that mystery, and talk about being able to use different skill sets.
Yeah.
You could you could even do a mystery, like say you had a mystery.
Because all 5 of them need to have kind of a Scooby-Doo-ish feel to it.
Well, yeah, well, I was thinking if you did a mystery, kind of a whodunit almost, like if someone, like the Jack the Ripper idea had, you could even apply a little bit of pressure by having a weather situation, like, a heavy storm comes into the area, kind of
nor'easter.
Basically kind of isolating them, and so they're kind of trapped, or not necessarily trapped, but it's they're stuck in this one building or complex or whatever, having to try and figure out who in there is killing people, or that kind of thing.
Maybe a dinner up at the lady's house.
Yeah, it could be something like that. It could be in one of the inns or taverns.
Yeah,
something like that.
That'd be cool.
Because then, it just adds something that you don't see in a lot of adventures. Is that kind of isolation that you get in a familiar environment.
One thing that's maybe a little hard to design without it being railroady, but one way is coming up with a with an adversary that they can't defeat. Ghosts are really good for that, where instead of just fighting the ghost, you have to come up with a way to free the ghost.
Yeah.
Something. But I mean, you could do this with other creatures, or at encounters or something. But it might be good to. And it's kind of hard. It's kind of harsh to say this, but to like teach new players that every problem can't be solved by just whacking at it.
Yeah.
That there might be another way to solve the problem, like running, or I don't know, like instead of fighting the ghost, they actually have to turn around and go after the person who wronged the ghost instead. You know what I mean? Like, instead of going,
The chief bad guy really isn't the chief bad guy.
Right. We've got the stones. We've got to put the stones in a correct order to free the ghost or something, or whatever. Like, I don't know.
Properly bury the body.
Right. See, or someone murdered this person and their body is like behind a wall in the cellar or something, like an Edgar Allan Poe kind of thing. And it's like, it's like, well, do we fight the ghost? Oh, we can't fight. We're first level. And, it's like, wait a minute. All the clues point to this other person. Let's reveal this person's in the town square or whatever. And then the ghost is freed after they uncover who did it or something.
See, I always think it'd be fun to introduce a big bad guy like at the very beginning, like I said, 0 or first level of a campaign, where this guy just comes into the town, and he's so much more powerful than the PCs that he just ignores them. Like, he just walks in, kills someone right in front of them. He sees them there. He just doesn't even bother with them. There's so little. Maybe they even swing at him and like, they hit him with a sword or something like that, and the thing just doesn't even react, and it just like walks past them. Like just forget about it. Don't even bother. Just make them so impotent in that moment, and then later on they finally confront him as higher level characters, and that could be kind of a fun.
Vampires are really good for that one.
Yeah. That could be kind of a fun story arc.
So the other strange thing that happens in that in that encounter is the very first spell that the players get hit by is magic missile, and then from that point forward, he's using nothing but warlock spells. And the idea was that he had a wand of magic missiles that had 1 charge left in it.
Oh, okay.
Right. Because for the average person, if you cast a spell at them, they're like, "Oh, no, screw this, I'm out." And that's why he dropped it. But it's also meant to be this misdirection, right? Like,
okay,
like it's kind of
wizard,
right? And like, you guys knew it was a warlock, because I was like, yeah, you're trying to take off the armor of Agathis when you do this.
Yeah, it was kind of go with it, yeah.
But yeah, well, cool. I appreciate you guys playing through it. I'm gonna do some more work with it.
Cool.
Good. Awesome sauce.
And then once I get Old Man John's the priest deal worked out, I'll snag you guys, some evening and see if we want to run through it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just to experiment, and you'd technically use the same characters, or we could run it again at level 1. Whatever.
Oh, I'll save my character because he's kind of fun.
Oh, I like Tug.
I haven't really done paladins before, so
I like Tug.
Tug's good.
Paladins.
Go sit off in the corner and cry because he was going to hit the little man.
Well, it's funny because as